Welcome, Zeelies. Today this video is just going to be kind of a sit down to discuss a question I've gotten a few times on what led us to the girls' diagnosis. Now, if you're new here, my girls and myself have something called Ehlers Danlos Syndrome type 3. There are 13 types of EDS. We have the most common one, which is type 3. Now, if you're not familiar with that, it is that we have faulty connective tissue. So our connective tissue doesn't work properly to hold our joints together, for our organs to function properly, and whatnot. So we're going to back up to, I guess, when Savannah was a baby. When Savannah was a baby, Savannah had GI issues. She had constipation issues. She'd be on special formula. And it just became a thing. Like, she just had these issues. She would have to go back and forth to the hospital. We'd have to do constant enemas, clean outs, suppositories, medicines, all that stuff. So throughout the years, up until now, Savannah's had 5 colonoscopies and biopsies and endoscopies. And about 4 years ago, my aunt reached out to me and said, "Hey Kelly, this is a diagnosis that we have received, and I think you should look into it." Her son and my daughter Savannah, as far as GI, are pretty textbook of each other, and she knew that I had been struggling and was still struggling with that. So since she had gotten this diagnosis, it is still considered rare, although I don't feel it's that rare. It is still considered rare, but it's highly genetic. So if you've got someone in the family that has it, majority of your family is probably going to have it. And so she reached out to me. We had changed multiple doctors, trying to find a pediatrician that would work with us, because Savannah's weight was always down. And I had one doctor who was like, "Oh, her weight's fine." And then we went and we got a second opinion. Another doctor who said, "No, she's not fine." That doctor ended up leaving the office and wasn't doing office work anymore, only hospital work. So for a while we were followed by the PA there, which we loved. And then she went and did only hospital work. And so we went back to the original office that the one doctor that had told me Savannah was fine when she was little, but we were seeing a different doctor. And we just kind of had some issues with that office again, which led us to going all the way to Murfreesboro for Savannah's pediatrician. And so he agreed. He felt like she definitely had a lot of signs. He sent us to a geneticist at Centennial who told us that she felt she had very little muscle tone in the abdominal area. She didn't quite think that she had EDS, but she wasn't quite sure what was going on. Savannah had blood work done to check for muscular dystrophy, just several things. It ended up never being led to anything. So when my aunt reached out to me with this diagnosis that was now in our family, our doctor sent her back to genetic, but this time through Vanderbilt. That genetic doctor the first time said yes, she had it, and then we did a follow-up. We went to see another genetic doctor at Vanderbilt who said she didn't have it. So by this point it was constantly back and forth. But Savannah still had the same issues. Savannah still had chronic constipation. Savannah still couldn't eat properly. Savannah constantly had nausea and pain, constant headaches, weakness. She's falling, just pale. She looks so sick. I'll insert a picture right here. This was when she got her feeding tube. And so that's kind of what led us to the last genetic doctor, who then tried to change the diagnosis. Said, I asked him, I said, "Well, what would you do?" And he said if it was his child, he would outsource to another hospital. That's what kind of led us to Cincinnati. This whole time, her pediatrician truly felt she had EDS and actually took on the diagnosis of EDS, even though the second genetic doctor tried to say that she didn't have it this last time. And so once we got to Ohio, we met with the GI doctor there, who agreed after examining her that he felt she had EDS also and that was a proper diagnosis, sent her to rheumatology. Rheumatology was the one that did the finalizing of, yes, Savannah has Ehlers Danlos Syndrome. And so that is kind of what led us to the diagnosis. Savannah just had so much GI and colon problems with no explanation why. And she was only getting worse. She wasn't growing. We would get excited when her weight was on the 3rd percentile instead of, a lot of times she was on 0 or nothing. I remember throughout the years, up until her feeding tube, the highest Savannah ever got on the scale was 5%. And there for a while, they would say, oh, she's on her own curve. It's okay, she's on her own curve. And I took that. As, okay, I guess she's fine. But over the last few years, she very quickly started to decline. She started getting very sick. She was constantly in tears and pain, migraines, couldn't eat, was severely underweight. At 11, 12 years old, she was only at 62 pounds. And, so that's kind of where it led us to kind of where we are now. She started getting the proper care that she needed in Ohio, which then in return, after being there, going back and forth for about a year, she got a lot healthier. Now, I'm not going to say that, oh, she's perfect healthy now because she doesn't have a feeding tube, because that's not true. She still has a daily struggle with eating, drinking, and like they explained it in Ohio, unfortunately, this is going to be a back and forth thing. She'll be able to go without her tube for a little bit, and then she's probably going to need it again. We just don't know what the time frame is. And so I hope that answered your question or questions on what led us to her diagnosis. If not, just please leave. If I didn't touch on something you were looking for, or if you have a question that you want me to go kind of more in detail with that I just haven't thought of, then just let me know. And so that, yes,
I was going to say, by the way, if you're new, I'm Savannah.
Yes, this is Savannah. Savannah will be 13 in about a week.
Don't get too surprised by the blue hair.
She has blue hair.
I literally just got it.
And all this leading to Savannah, with all these issues, also had to be held back in school one year.
Yeah.
And is now homeschooled because...
Which is great.
The reality of school, it doesn't work. She can't. Mm-hmm. She can't go to school. She can't function at school. She needs to be able to do school on her own time. Savannah gets hit with, and she's always done this, with chronic fatigue, where she just can't function. She's so tired. Or
I'll blank out during school.
Or she'll have a small time frame where she's doing great and then she's got to take a break.
Yeah.
And so...
Like tests, if they're timed, they stress me out.
Question, in your opinion, what happened to lead us to your EDS diagnosis?
Dr. Callahan, proving I'm wrong.
But what was going on with your body to lead us to finding a diagnosis for you, in your opinion? What did you deal with your body throughout those years?
A lot of not knowing what's going on with me, and why am I so small compared to all these other girls. Mm-hmm. Why am I one of the shortest people in the class and the skinniest person that you can see my bones practically through my skin? Mm-hmm. Not really, but you could, if I would hold my skin back, you could have probably seen my bone. It was bad. And
but what else were you dealing with? Your GI stuff, your migraines, all that
migraines
kind of stuff?
Were awful.
Which she was diagnosed with an electrolyte deficiency.
Yes. and I had to take salt pills for a while, and we put them in Gatorade, and now I just drink Propel. We just switched over to Propel. It has less sugar, so it makes my stomach more happy, I feel like. That's one of the reasons why I didn't drink Gatorade that much. That's because I feel like it hurt my stomach and it just had a lot of sugar and it was sweet. And I got tired of it too.
She got really bad leg cramps.
Really bad.
Her muscles would get hard as a rock, like a Charlie horse.
My leg right here, like right here on my leg, would get so hard.
It would be as hard as a rock. I would have to rub them. That ended up being due to her electrolyte deficiency.
Once we started salt pills, everything started to get better with my legs.
And your low serotonin.
And my
she was
low
also
serotonin.
diagnosed with low serotonin.
Yes. Low serotonin. My stomach would hurt all the time. I would not, most of the time, I would have snacks and I'd barely eat any of my snack.
And it only got worse over the years.
Yeah, it got really bad. Like, that's 62 pounds is the size of my brother, and he's like 6. Like, in the middle of my brother and sister, which my sister's 4 and my brother's 6. That's how small I was.
She went
and how underweight I was.
After her feeding tube, when she started growing, before she got her feeding tube, she was a size 6. And now she's a size 10, 12. She's pretty much where she should be.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That is kind of just a short version, I guess, of what led us to her diagnosis, what kind of things that stuck out that she was dealing with, that the doctor, her pediatrician, and I were trying to figure out what was going on to be able to help her.
Something the doctor said, mentioning about my glasses, the doctor was talking about, what's it called, the blue?
She has blue sclera.
It's where the whites of your eyes are actually a tiny bit tinted blue.
What happens is the connective tissue around the eyes is so thin that you can see the blue, which is the oxygen in her body.
Yeah, which is actually kind of cool, but at the same time isn't very good.
So
that's actually kind of cool.
But that wasn't found until after your diagnosis.
Yeah, after the diagnosis, and we went up to Ohio, and one of the EDS, which is actually a sleep disorder too, is standing for
excessive daytime sleepiness, which is funny because I have a form of narcolepsy, and so we found that out.
Yeah, we found that out from Mom's doctor, but we're talking about the Ehlers Danlos Syndrome, not that. But I forgot what I was gonna say.
They just the one doctor who tried to take away her EDS diagnosis was the one that spotted the blue sclera, which is a sign of EDS. And then when I took her to the eye doctor to get her glasses, I asked him about it, and he said, yeah, he could see it, that she did have it. So, again, if there's any questions, if I left anything out, if you or your child is dealing with something and you're kind of curious, and maybe Savannah dealt with that too, just leave it in the comments below. And we're going to do a Q&A here soon to answer some questions. I just wanted to kind of do just a video on this because this is a question I've been getting quite often here lately. And it's a little bit longer of an explanation than just saying, oh, the answer to this is this.
Yeah.
So.
But I do notice Sundays the blue sclera is bluer, and then like the next day it'll be a little bit more whiter. So it's like different days. It's like different.
I think it just depends on the light.
And the light too.
And now your blue hair brings out the blue in your eyes. So, anyways, so yeah, that's just the answer to that question. Now, we are just hanging out at the house until time for T-ball.
Hi, Mara.
But, yeah, I guess that's it. So, please subscribe.
And leave the likes.
Yes, leave likes and hit that notification bell so you know I'm trying to regularly upload. There are times where I may have to take a few days off just because we deal with all 3 girls of us deal with EDS, and so sometimes it's really hard. But I am trying to be pretty regular.
And our dog's sick right now, so we're
so we're dealing with that. And so I'm trying to be pretty regular with, if I don't have one of these kind of videos, doing vlogs. I'm just rambling on now. So, we will see y'all in the next video.